You know, there are times when I provoke the ire of the left and wind up trending on social media and generating negative headlines because I've said something that they find offensive about an important cultural topic. And then there are times when I provoke the ire of the left and wind up trending on social media and generating negative headlines because I advocated for a scientifically accurate mermaid with translucent skin. Now, this latest outrage falls into that second and admittedly very specific category. So, those who listened to the show yesterday may recall the very brief moment during the comment section segment of the show when I responded to someone who was giving their opinion on the Black Little Mermaid issue. In my response, I asserted that scientifically, it makes no sense for Ariel to have dark skin. In fact, I suggested that she ought to be translucent and skeletal and horrifying like a real deep-sea fish. Our loyal fans over at Media Matters heard those remarks, as they hear literally everything else I say because they're obsessed with me and want to date me. And they immediately posted it to Twitter and published an article on their site with the headline, "Daily Wire host says it is unscientific to cast a black person as a mermaid." Other left-wing blogs picked it up, like the site Alternet, which reports, and I'll read a little bit of their report because I think it fairly captures what actually happened. Quote, right-wing Daily Wire podcaster Matt Walsh threw a fit on Wednesday over the new live-action remake of the classic Disney film The Little Mermaid, because the main character Ariel is portrayed by actress Halle Bailey, who is black. Matt said that while he is sympathetic to more racial inclusion in fictional works, he opposes Bailey's casting because of marine biology. Quoting me now, quote, "Also, by the way, with The Little Mermaid, can we also just mention that from a scientific perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have someone with darker skin who lives deep in the ocean," Walsh complained. "I mean, if anything, not only should The Little Mermaid be pale, she should actually be translucent," he continued. "If you look at deep-sea creatures, they're like translucent. They have no pigmentation whatsoever, and they're just these horrifying, they look like skeletons floating around in the ocean. That's what The Little Mermaid should look like. She should be totally pale and skeletal, where you can see her skull through her face," Walsh noted, adding that this would be a version of The Little Mermaid that I would watch. Now, that is indeed an accurate and full quote, which I do appreciate. Media Matters on Twitter provided the full video, but they were more selective in their caption. So Jason Campbell tweeted the video, but the caption was just, "Daily Wire host says it's unscientific to cast a black person as a mermaid." Now, which again is what I said, but then didn't go further with the rest of it. From there, it was sort of off to the races. My statements calling for a translucent mermaid were picked up by other media outlets like Newsweek. They had a headline about it. It even went all the way across the world. The Sydney Morning Herald in Australia was reporting on it. Reporters started emailing me asking for comment on the issue, which I was more than happy to provide, by the way. Leftists across the nation expressed their outrage. I was one of the top trending topics on Twitter all night and still today because of this. My allegedly racist, translucent supremacist views ignited a national firestorm. Now, just reading through a few of these angry tweets, just for fun. One says, wait. First, these fools want to say that science doesn't matter when it comes to vaccines and the like, but then want to be science guardians about fictional creatures? Josh Marshall at the Talking Points memo tweeted, "I shouldn't laugh because the racism isn't funny, but they struggle to present their racism as scientific. Have you ever even met a fish?" He actually wrote that. "Have you met any fish? They don't look like people. With a few exceptions, they're not white. What an effing clown." Another tweet says, "Quite possibly the strangest thing about self-described theocratic fascist Matt Walsh's argument for why scientifically a mermaid couldn't be black is the fact that it's just wrong. He's confusing tanning changing someone's skin tone to the amount of melanin in someone's skin." Another one says, "Attention, Matt Walsh, F your scientific perspective. Mermaids aren't real. Just say you're a racist and take up significantly less airtime. Bye." And then there's this. "There are a lot of extraordinarily dumb and pathetic racists in the world, but Matt Walsh puts them all to shame with pearl-clutching takes like this." Another from a woman named Victoria Brownworth, who bills herself as an award-winning journalist, says, quote, "Wait, Matt Walsh says there's science behind his racist take on the Little Mermaid casting? Is someone going to break it to him that mermaids are mythical creatures and Disney makes animated features for kids?" Now, there are many thousands more where those came from. Ted Lieu got in on the dog pile. So did CNN correspondent John Harwood. Many others. Conservative masochist and gimp David French joined in. The outrage reached into unexpected corners. The media liaison for the Portland Police Department, for some reason, sent me hate mail about this, calling me garbage for my comments about a translucent mermaid. This guy's name, by the way, is David Singer, and we'll put his message up on the screen. Incidentally, in the message that I'm putting up on the screen, you can see his email address there, which is a shame. I wish we could block that out or something, but I forgot to, and now it's out there and you can all see it. Please don't email him, though. I'm not asking you to do that. Anyway, he was hired by the Portland, Maine Police Department during the defund the police hysteria as one of the 3 civilian liaisons. And his job, which he is paid a salary by the taxpayers for, is to facilitate community and media relations. And this is his media outreach strategy, evidently. A very interesting approach, to say the least. He actually sent me that bit of hate mail, called me garbage, and then blocked me so that I couldn't respond. This is media outreach, okay? This is what the Portland Police Department in Maine needs. All told, the left was very upset about my push for greater translucent representation in mermaid casting. And let me just say, to begin with, that I am glad the left has chosen to take my comments seriously. I was, of course, being totally serious when I made them. I am not one to joke. I would never engage in something as juvenile as sarcasm. When I say something, as my audience knows, it means that I am 100% sincere all the time. And I especially would never joke about an issue as serious as translucent representation in Hollywood. So the 3 points I want to make here. First of all, I have long been an advocate for the translucent population, a fighter for trans rights, you might say. Translucent individuals have been marginalized for far too long, and now even film roles that rightfully belong to them have been appropriated. I ask you, when was the last time you saw a skeletal, translucent, goblin-like monstrosity cast in any movie? Now, granted, we have one as the Speaker of the House right now, but that is hardly enough. If they will not earn roles in films about deep-sea creatures who sing, then what hope do they have? Translucent people exist, and they deserve to be affirmed. Translucent rights are human rights. Translucent lives matter. Second, many on the left have sent me messages or left comments insisting that my mermaid racial theories are factually incorrect. They have presented many arguments seeking to debunk my thesis. A journalist named, there are a lot of journalists, by the way, who are chiming in on this, and there's a journalist named Catherine Marshall. She sent a whole string of tweets fact-checking my alleged misinformation and insisting that mermaids are more like seals who breathe air at the surface. That's what she said. And as she reminded me indignantly, seals are black. But this argument fails because mermaids live on the ocean floor. And as you may recall in the original film, Ariel's trips to the surface are a source of great controversy in the mermaid community. They don't want her to go there at all. This means that mermaids do not need to surface in order to breathe air, as seals do. No, living on the ocean floor with flounders and evil octopuses clearly qualifies her as a deep-sea creature. She certainly lives deep enough where there wouldn't be nearly enough light penetration to necessitate high concentrations of melanin in the skin. Indeed, the lack of light penetration would create, as I argued, a translucent appearance. This would be both evolutionary, an evolutionary adaptation allowing for greater camouflage from predators, and a logical result of the lack of sunlight. So, do your mermaid research before you try to engage with me on this subject. You need to bring mermaid facts and mermaid logic to this conversation. By the way, I demand this level of accuracy out of every Disney film. It's one of the reasons I've always objected to Beauty and the Beast. For one thing, the story promotes bestiality as Beauty begins to fall in love with what is essentially a large talking buffalo. For another, the servants who turned into household objects and pieces of furniture would in reality be so psychologically devastated by this transformation, they'd be in no mood to perform song and dance numbers for the Beast's female prisoners. Not to mention they wouldn't have vocal cords or a musculoskeletal system that could facilitate that sort of physical movement. Third and final point. I am the beloved and revered LGBT author of Johnny the Walrus. I literally wrote a book about marine animals. Johnny the Walrus is not just a masterpiece of children's literature, but also the seminal scientific treatise on the subject of aquatic mammals. So those who are questioning my statements are therefore not only engaging in homophobia and gay erasure, but also are refusing to listen to and trust the experts. This is dangerous and toxic behavior, not to mention an example of stochastic terrorism. As an expert in the field and as an advocate for the translucent community, I will not allow myself to be silenced or marginalized. Well, before you go, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. And while you're at it, if you want to go watch or listen to my full show, head to dailywire.com and subscribe. You can also catch my show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. So go check it out now. I demand it. Your compliance is somewhat appreciated.